You've probably seen the headlines about a diarrhea parasite spreading across the country this summer, and the concern is real. The culprit is a microscopic parasite called cyclospora, and the CDC says it's now sickened more than 1,600 people nationwide, with thousands more cases under review. Here in New Jersey, there are approximately 80 cases so far, but health officials say it's not considered an outbreak. Stephanie Silvera is an epidemiologist and chair of the Department of Public Health at Montclair State University, and she's here to tell us how to avoid it and what to do if we get it. Stephanie, thanks for talking to us. Obviously, this is an issue that a lot of folks are really starting to pay attention to, and there's a lot of fear and concern. I want to start with just laying the ground rules. What is cyclospora and how does it affect the body?
So, cyclospora is a microscopic single cell parasite and it infects the human intestine. So, people may have heard cyclospora or cyclosporiasis. Cyclosporiasis is the infection that results from being infected with cyclospora. Um, the most common symptoms, unfortunately, occur about 7 to 14 days after you've been exposed to the contaminated food or something that you may have had to drink. Um, the most common side effects are this watery diarrhea. That's the most common. You can also have a lot of abdominal bloating and gas, stomach cramping, a lot of fatigue. Often that comes along with a loss of appetite, some nausea, and sometimes a mild fever. The biggest issue with this is that if left untreated, you can have symptoms for up to 6 to 7 weeks. And there are times when your symptoms will seem to recover and then will return.
Okay, this is very concerning because it's hard to know if it's 7 to 14 days later. I'm sure what you ate, what caused it, and then I would imagine there are people who might have an upset stomach who are saying, oh no, do I have cyclosporiasis? Does it have to be all of these conditions in order for it to be this parasite? Or do you need to get a stool test? What does one do to be sure?
So the only way to truly be sure is to have a stool test and to look for those spores. The good news is there is a treatment. The most common treatment for this is Bactrim, which is an antibiotic, but obviously you have to speak to your physician about that. The people who I think need to be most concerned are the ones with any infectious disease, right? Very young children, people who are older, and anybody who is immunocompromised, because they're going to be most at risk for having some more severe outcomes. I think the key, if you are not getting treated through a physician, is to make sure that you stay hydrated. Drink a lot of water or other fluids that you're able to keep down, because the biggest risk for any diarrheal illness is dehydration.
Okay, we're hearing that it's coming from produce, and we're in the dead of summer. This is the time when you probably eat the most produce. I know we do in my house. Do we have to give it up? Can we wash it away? Can we scrub it away, as I'm hearing some people recommend? What do we do?
So right now, I would avoid any prepackaged salad mix or those vegetable trays. Those are going to be the biggest culprits here. You're also, unfortunately, and my family loves blackberries and raspberries. Those tend to be a source of risk, as well as things like snow and sugar snap peas. The best way to prevent this is really having anything cooked to at least 158 degrees. So, if you really like your berries, maybe it's time to have a pie or to enjoy them as a jam. The safest options for fruits and vegetables is anything that has a peel, so that you can wash it, peel it, wash it again, and then serve it. Unfortunately, simply washing or common methods like vinegar or even some commercial produce methods are simply not reliable enough to make sure that you kill those spores.
Okay, if you do have a peeled, let's say it's an orange or it's a mango, do you need to wash it with soap? Do you wash it with a brush? How do you ensure that if there is something on the outside, you're not cutting it into the fruit?
Kind of get into it. Yeah. I think the best option there would be to wash it with a mild soap, vinegar with a brush. So you want to give it a good scrub, then peel it, make sure you throw that peel away, and then just eat what's inside. It's a great time
Hard
for
to do when you've
watermelon
got,
too.
yeah, watermelon sounds great. A lot of melons sound great right now. So there are 80 cases as of the time that we're talking right now in New Jersey. I know it's a moving number, but health officials in the state say that that doesn't constitute an outbreak. Is this more common than we realize, or why is that not considered an outbreak?
So, an outbreak is simply when you have a higher number than what you would typically expect at any given time. I suspect that the number is probably significantly higher. Remember, this is based on reporting systems where if people aren't reporting their systems to their physician or to health departments, we don't really know. This leads into the need for us to have better public health surveillance and monitoring, which at this point, especially for this particular parasite, we simply do not have.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I know that the CDC made some changes to a program that's called the Foodborne Disease Active Surveillance Network. The shorter title there is FoodNet. This tracks many different types of parasites and foodborne illness. They cut it back recently from 8 to 2. Cyclospora was on that list of those that got cut. What does that type of tracking do? How does it operate, and how does it impact public health?
So that system monitors, right? And we look for cases, right? It's a little bit more of an active surveillance. Without that, again, with anything that has a 7 to 14 days incubation period, we cannot sort of predict what's going to happen. We cannot get out warnings. It also makes it a lot harder to identify when outbreaks are happening and then identify the source, right? Unfortunately, we are not in a situation with Cyclospora where we don't have the information or we don't know how to get the information. We are in a situation where there's been a dismantling of a public health system that was working and was efficient and was effective. And that is having widespread impact, not just on people who are getting sick, which is obviously very important, but we're looking at the impact that this is having on food suppliers, not knowing where the outbreak came from, not being able to tell people specifically which foods to avoid. And so, as we just mentioned, there's sort of this wholesale avoidance of fruits and vegetables, which is not generally the message we want to get out. There's also an undermining of public trust, right, in our food system, which I think can be very dangerous long term.
Yeah, you raised some really great points. There's an economic impact to all of this on top of the public health impact. As folks do avoid the fruits and vegetables, that impacts farmers. We know farmers are already struggling with very tight margins. There are, as we know right now, more than 1,600 cases confirmed, but more than 5,000, I believe the number is 100 right now, being investigated at the time that we're talking, and it's across 34 states. Do you know if health officials are any closer to identifying where it could be coming from? We're hearing rumblings that it could be tied to fast food chains. Is there any clarity there?
I haven't heard any clarity. I know there's typically, right, lettuce is probably one of the most common places that we're going to look for this. And so anybody that's serving lettuce, fast food, big chains where they're getting it from these markets where the lettuce is mixed in to large vats to be distributed are potential sources. But right now, we don't have any way of specifically knowing which lettuce, where it came from, a batch number. And so unfortunately, we just have to be extra vigilant in what we're eating right now.
If you are a person who loves lettuce, if you love salad, is there a way to still serve it in your home safely?
I think this is a great time to grow lettuce at your home. You can also, I would say the pre-bagged salads are at greater risk because you're getting leafy vegetables from many different sources that get mixed together and then packaged. So that automatically increases the risk. If you're buying a single head of lettuce, your risk is going to be somewhat lower than if you're buying it in the bag.
Yeah, and of course, if you can peel a vegetable, that's always a good thing too, right?
Yep, any vegetables or fruits that can be peeled, those are the ones that you're going to want to pick for the time being.
All right, good advice as always. Stephanie Silvera helping us break down these things one by one as they come to us and affect our lives, hoping everyone out there stays safe. But epidemiologist and chair now of the Department of Public Health at Montclair State University, Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you for having me.